I'm Bilal Malas, head of client success with Lux Sales Consulting. I am with Casey today, who's a financial planner. And Casey joined us not too long ago, about a month and 2 months or so, and has started prospecting using our SLS framework. And Casey has generated about 30 appointments with ideal clients who are psychiatrists, and has generated about 36 grand in new revenue from getting some clients. And most of those meetings are going to second appointments, and that's just first year revenue. Obviously there's recurring as a financial planner, and has been able to define the niche, dial it down, and have an automated process around scheduling new appointments with ideal clients virtually, literally from anywhere, licensed in a lot of states. So Casey, love your story, and that's why we're on here, is to share that with our client base, our prospects. And so Casey, please introduce yourself. So your name, where you're from, and who it is exactly that you help, and how do you help them?
Yeah, so my name's Casey, a financial planner in North Liberty, Iowa, of all places, and been financial planning for about 22 years now. And specifically, after working with you at Lux and with the SLS framework, I've been working specifically with psychiatrists. Previous to that, before our relationship together, I was working with all sorts of different backgrounds. A lot of those were in the medical community with physicians, but currently working with psychiatrists, helping them gain more financial clarity and simplicity, and while also at the same time substantially reducing the impact of tax within their wealth building. So yeah, that's a little bit of background.
Awesome. Casey, I appreciate you for hopping on. I was taking a look at the notes from Tiffany. I'm from the journey that you guys have been on, and apparently you were wanting to wait for a sale for us to schedule this call, and I suppose that's why we're on the call today. Do you actually close a deal, some deals?
Yeah, so last week, yeah, I mean, things have been really good, but then last week, two of the clients that I've been working with and took through some strategy sessions and delivered some plans, they both decided to act on the recommendations, and it was 35,000 in revenue between those two. And so that's great, you know? So
I just want to
yeah.
commend you. I want to commend you.
Yeah, so I actually scheduled this before I knew that that was going to happen, but I just had a feeling like it was going that direction.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's been going really well. Really consistent with the, hopping on and taking a look at the messages that are going out, and making sure that I respond to them. And, and people have been really fantastic,
These are the and they're
They're all
business owners
psychiatrists.
/ psychiatrists, right?
Yeah, so most of them are going to be business owners, like the psychiatrists, meaning that, they're in their own practice. There's some of them that are employees of like a hospital or, something like that. But for the most part, they're all going to be self-employed.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And what have you found in the market? Like, why them, and how come it seems to click with them? Like, what's resonating with them that's not there for them?
Yeah. So for 20 years, I've been working with physicians, and just in general. And I think that the reason why I haven't really niched down any further than just physicians was because I was pretty bound geographically. And so obviously with the pandemic and everybody going to Zoom and getting really comfortable in that environment, it really opened up the opportunity to go more national with things. And I'm already licensed in like 30 different states in the US. And so if I run into someone who's not in one of those states, I just get licensed with that state and just keep adding to my collection, basically, of state licenses. So because I can go more broad in terms of geography, I could go a lot more deep in terms of the niche.
Mm,
Does that make sense?
yes. And
And
yeah.
go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, like, so I've worked with psychiatrists for years, and I've worked with, surgeons, cardiologists, like all sorts of different specialties within medicine. But I've always seemed just to get along like exceptionally well with psychiatrists. and their practice is actually pretty similar to mine as a financial planner, meaning, they typically work one-on-one, just sit down, have conversations, figure out where someone is today, ultimately, where do they want to be in the future?
Yeah.
Like what's kind of keeping them from getting there, and then, working with them to get to that point.
Yeah.
And schedules are really similar, so obviously I'm not working weekends. I don't even work evenings at this stage of the game.
Yeah.
It's very much, like 10 o'clock to 3 o'clock, and then with clients. And psychiatrists are pretty similar to that. Like their hours, they don't really work on call like surgeons do or cardiologists do. And they're also really comfortable working remotely with all the telehealth that they're doing.
Yeah.
So there's not even really that barrier,
Yeah. And
where like,
and they're good for you because they know what they want out of their clients, which is someone who's coachable, right?
right. Yeah. I mean, it's just a very like really great way just to like meet somebody, get to know their situation, try to figure out how you can help them. They're people that really want to be helped also, and they're people that know that there's things that they just don't know that they don't know.
Yeah, and for the most part, that's what an ideal client is. I think that's
Right.
what we discussed even when before you became our client. You say, listen, I work with everyone. I just like to work with people who I like to work with, and that happened to handsomely pay me well. It's just that right now I don't have the processes because of COVID, and I know there's a way. It's just how do I dial it down? And I think we can both agree we executed.
Yeah. Yeah. And with the SLS in particular, just, it was a lot of work at the beginning, getting everything set up. And I think that was just really helpful to just take a break from, working in the business and working on the business, for me, and getting the messaging down of like what I was really trying to communicate with people. Um, and, and it's really been resonating like my messages from like suspects or like referrals or like these leads that are coming through. It's always like what do you mean you just work with psychiatrists? And your messaging sounds really intriguing, and I'm really interested to hear more. Um and they definitely thank me for the persistence, following through with them. um like it's just been a really great group of people, for me to connect with.
Yeah, and I'm really happy to, again, it's just another case of you is just being a successful advisor. You have a tons of value to bring forward to, for you in your case, it's medical
Right.
professionals, and we just then needed this little something to kick it up a notch. And just like you said, we were able to pause for a second. You were in the business, I mean, working in the business, and you're taking a look at the right, at the left, you're like, guys, like, oh crap, I mean, COVID's happening. I don't know, like I've built my business using this one way, and I don't know if it's gonna work. I don't know, I should probably look into something. We just so happen to hop on a quick call. Seems like it's a good fit. We move forward with the SLS framework, and here we are, where you have an automated system for the most part, where you're working with ideal clients, and you can still travel, take a vacation, and have your calendar with the pipeline confidently packed up with prospects of only ideal clients, and again within your niche, and even in a even more specific niche than what you ever thought, because you have that the background working with the medical professionals. Now we're even dialing in even more, and then of course now the next steps for you is how do I expand, from there, my authority, for as how, of course, there's a lot of work to be done with those psychiatrists, and then there's sub niches in there, whether it is, even psychologists, the subtitles right within that industry. There's so much to do, and I'm just happy that you have that kind of base, and at any point you can just generate business at will with ideal clients, which I feel like the before we didn't have, right?
And I would say that, one thing that's also pretty unique is I'm in the Midwest, right? And it seems like most of the people that I'm connecting with, I mean, they're all over the country, but obviously just the way that the population works, they're either pretty concentrated on the East Coast or the West Coast. And the level of income and the standard of living in those places is quite a bit higher. And so like even the fees that I charge clients like when we're engaging like for a financial plan, it's quite a bit less than what they're used to, paying like, higher rates and things like that. Um, and so that's also, I think, been helpful to them, that they can connect with someone that, they benefit from not being tied to geography as well, you know?
And you mean because they locally, if they were to do business locally, wherever they are, they would have to pay more for the amount of expertise that you have, or the value that you bring forward?
Correct.
Oh, interesting. That's another good point. That if
Yeah.
you
And
put it like that.
I actually had on a call, I have a client who's been a client for like 4 or 5 years. He's a tax attorney. And so he focuses in on, people's tax situations for business owners and things like that. And I let him know what was going on with this, with, engaging people, primarily using LinkedIn and some other places. And we figured out a way that we could work together where, when they're looking at their business entity formation, if they're self-employed, like, are they going to become an S corporation? Are they going to stay sole proprietor? Are they, going to go in like a PLC, something along those lines. So like, even for them, because I'm able to niche down so much and see about the same type of situation over and over again with those psychiatrists, like, we're just a lot more relevant to someone that's just a generalist, working with kind of anybody.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that's what's coming through in the messaging. And especially when we end up getting on a phone call together and we're seeing for a good fit for the other, that's definitely coming through,
Yep.
the fact that we specialize.
And I think I was ruminating on that, and it's always been part of the SLS framework is, there's so many things you can do for so many people, types of people, and professionals and business owners, executives. And, in the end, it's what finding one problem, using one solution to deliver one outcome, and being able to do that efficiently over and over at scale, right? For the most part, these are, you look at the simplest companies, right? McDonald's, and how did it start? It was burgers and shakes and one assembly line in the most efficient way possible for one client type. Someone who wanted a quick in and out,
Right.
no puns intended to the other restaurant chain, uh, meal, right? Satisfying meal. And it was one thing, one product, one outcome efficiently. And that's how it beat the competition. And it's scaled from there. Right now, if you have 1 million products and whatever, you're no longer, they have a cafe, right? They have a cafe, make cafe, you got everything. And you expand. I mean, just as looking at the parallels here, right now you work with us, we were able to dial down one outcome, one desired outcome to solve a problem for one specific type of person. And from there, you're just like, hey, you brought up the tax attorney. It's like, how do we expand on that? How do we, provide even more value? But, the beginning, the base of any business is revenue, and to dial it down in a way that's scalable and that's efficient, and at the same time having fun, enjoying the work, is it, I feel like, beautiful and part of your story. So I just want to say, yeah, thanks for sharing, Casey. And what would you say to someone who's another financial planner like you, independent for the most part, who is on the edge of joining the SLS framework, who's successful? COVID has been kind of putting some sticks in the wheel. What would you say to another financial planner like that?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely had, um, like, I gave pause, like when I found out like what the cost was going to be going in. And I did spend a lot of time looking at the testimonials on the Lux website. And that's actually what helped me, take the step, as you asked the same question to all those different people. And every single one of them, they were like, yeah, it's definitely worth it to take the next step and sign up essentially. And I would completely agree. So it's been 6 weeks since I really started, like, my outreach to prospects and leads. It took a little bit of work before that to get it going, but I knew going in that it was going to take the time and the effort. And that's actually what was, I think, helpful, is just knowing that it's not like just a quick fix. It takes some like inward looking at what you want and what you're trying to get out of it. But that's really what helps generate the things when you get to the point when you're doing the outreach, and it makes it more rewarding I think is maybe a good way to put it. And so now that it's been going and it's been live for about the last 6 weeks, I was just looking at my notes, and it's generated like 20 phone calls, like the initial phone call with a lead to talk about, hey, are we a good fit for each other moving forward? And from there, it's led to 30 meetings in the last 6 weeks of just those people. I mean, I still have my other clients that I still need to meet with outside of this, but like that's just new people coming in the door. And then just recently, we're able to engage with 2 clients last week that generated 35,000 of revenue. And that's just like the initial revenue essentially for the first year. And it'll continue after that too. But more importantly than the revenue, because I mean, obviously that's why we're in business. That's why we do what we do. But it's been a lot of fun to meet these people. And it's, added, a little bit of, I guess, motivation, or like, it's more than just getting up in the morning and going to the office. It's fun to figure out like, who are we going to see if we can identify, and who can we help, and like what relationships are we going to have going forward. It really is about that relationship. That's the most important thing.
Yep, absolutely, Casey. Thank you very much for sharing that with me today. And that could wrap it up for our interview.
Great.